Live from a grungy kitchen table located in Annapolis, Maryland's scenic and historic capital, it's the Maryland Crabs Podcast. With each episode, your hosts, Tim Hamilton, John Frenay, and the occasional guest will dive in and pick apart the stuff that really matters most to you. We're too lazy to actually solve any of these problems, but we can definitely stir the pot. From schools, politics, parking in the fire lane, to those horrible people who drive BMWs. And here with this week's episode, live from the kitchen table, Tim Hamilton and John Frenay.
Hey, it's the Maryland Crabs. We're back again here. We are visiting West Annapolis, the lovely village of West Annapolis, where I understand there's 2 new restaurants opening up. Evelyn's and some Flemish thing, which I'm kind of excited about. Flamant is called. But this is John Frenay. I've got Tim Hamilton across the table from me. And also with us, we have Patti White and Lee Anderson, who some people may or may not know. If you're in the film industry, you certainly do know them. If you've ever been to the Annapolis Film Festival, you do know them. And we're going to sit down and talk to them about the Annapolis Film Festival, which is coming up soon again. Which is something everybody should be looking forward to. How are you guys today?
We're doing just great.
I never get over to West Annapolis.
Well, now you have arrived then.
It's the little treasure of Annapolis.
Yeah, we drive on the same side of the street here, right? So it's not a problem.
Oh, no. We drive on the other side of the street here. Everything's out of the box here.
It's charming. I do like this. You got a nice office with a view out onto Annapolis Street.
Mm-hmm. And parking. Mm-hmm. We have parking here. Parking. That's the best kept secret of West Annapolis.
I think some of the shops that are down here are very unique. They're not... unfortunately, there's a number of them that have left, but the ones that are here are very unique. It's not, and Main Street has its unique stuff too, but it's hard to put your finger on it. But it's a neat place. I mean, we've got a film production office here.
Plus, parking enforcement doesn't come over here, do they?
Parking. We've got the restaurants, and it's nice.
Antique stores. There's a lot of antique stores and small businesses.
The upscale consignment. Mm-hmm. Bean Rush.
Yeah, Bean Rush. Great coffee.
Lifesaver. So let's talk a little bit about the film festival and you guys and what you guys do here. I didn't realize that you'd been here for 15 years in this location or so.
No, 10 years in this location.
10 here. We were in Eastport.
And it looks like managed chaos. I'm looking around and we have boxes with FILMSTERS projects and contracts.
Come back in a month and a half and see.
Calendars, yeah. It looks like you both are very calm, but it looks like as soon as we're leaving, you're going to be in a frenzy.
This is a good time for you to be here. This is the calm before the storm.
We're always kind of managed chaos here.
Well, it is. I jokingly, when I first came in, said this is the first time I've ever been able to see the floor when I come in here, because it's usually like the week of the film festival, and there's like T-shirts hanging from the chandeliers. There's somebody screaming from the back room, yelling. The phones are ringing and trying to get it all together. Which is
a political campaign. I like that.
Yes, pretty close. Pretty close. Energy. Now, FILMSTERS is your company, and what do you guys do with FILMSTERS?
Well, it's a full production company that we started many years ago, and we've been in business for
21 years.
Yeah, 21 years.
You guys have always been partners?
Well, we have.
Yeah, we've always been partners.
So this is an interesting West Annapolis story. Now, Patti had a company called DMW Productions with 2 other partners in California before she moved back here. David Diesenfeld and Michael Miller, the D and the M, right. And she's the W. And then, like all production company stories, we met through our hairdresser at Morgan Gerard.
Right next door.
Our hairdresser at Morgan Gerard, and Michael both cut both of our hair, and he was the Yenta, and he put us together because we were the only 2 people he knew in this business. And we quickly developed a friendship. We've been friends for 26 years. Mm-hmm. So one day I left my other job. I called her on the way home. I said, I left. She said, good, come work with me. So we've been working together for 21 years, but friends for 26
now,
years.
Are you both natively? Are you from here?
Yes.
And I'm not.
You're not, but you came here like 20 some odd years ago.
Yes, we moved from, I came via New York City. I was in the city for about 15 years, and then to L.A., and then here.
Okay. You like the West Coast or the East Coast?
Oh, I like it. I mean, I was raised here on the East Coast. So
I didn't like LA. Do you like LA?
There is a really big difference. And when we produced Extreme Makeover, we would go into the LA office. There'd be like 60 employees running around, and we would learn about the young people. We'd watch people work, and she was senior producer, and we were producing on the road. But we'd go into the office, and I'd say, now that one has potential, and then we'd find out they were all from the East Coast.
Yeah.
I mean, there are things that I do like about LA, and I've got 2 sons living there right now, and one who loves it and one who isn't wild about it, but his business, keeps him there. And I think that it has a lot of advantages, but it's not necessarily in your blood the way it is here.
There's a different work ethic and sensibility on the East Coast.
Oh, my
there are
God,
many people that transplant that to the West Coast, thank God.
Well, it was used to be, because we were just talking before we started recording, because you and I both lived in the Southwest for a little bit, and it would be the sort of thing, if, we called you up and said we want to have a podcast, we're going to meet here at 10, so we all met here at 10.
Right.
Because that's what you do.
Right.
Out in the Southwest, you have 10 people, and maybe 3 might show up, and 2 by accident. It was that
hey, what's going on here?
And
right?
they would just say...
In L.A., they're out on Venice Boulevard, riding their
But they'd
bikes.
always say that we were so high-strung. They're just like, you guys got to relax. I'm like, you got to show up to meetings. This is it drove me crazy.
This is the real deal.
You nailed it, though. That's the best example I could think of.
And I'll tell you, too, it was because I was in comedy for a bit, and the comedians on the East Coast it got to the point that you had comedians who would move from the East Coast to L.A., and they were worried that they would lose their anger, so they would lose their edge. It is always just funny going, you don't want to be well-adjusted and relaxed, because then you won't be as funny. But it's true.
But you want to know
It's
something?
true.
You know how many people that live in L.A. now, particularly in this industry, are from New York or the East Coast?
They're from
somewhere?
everywhere. Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. It's a compilation of all of us.
It's a colony.
Yeah.
I
It's a
remember
colony,
one
yeah.
of the fun things when I first met Michael and David and went to L.A. to start working with Filmsters, that Michael said, if you notice, there are no houses that are the same here, because everyone that moved to L.A. when they made it, they built the house that was the most successful house of the person in the little hometown they lived in, and then they brought it to L.A.
So it's the New England,
Right. So it's everything,
chateau,
but
or
it's their
the-
idea of making it, and that's why it all looks so different in L.A.
Was it L.A. story when he's driving around? He goes, some of these houses are up to 20 years old.
ancient.
I don't know. When I first flew in once, the first time I went there, I was in the cab, which cost around $5,000 because we just kept driving and driving. And I just kept waiting to get there, and then it just dawned on me, there's no there to get to.
You're there.
Yeah, there's no downtown. There's no. It just goes on
Sprawls.
It's one big strip mall.
My favorite L.A., of course, is Woody Allen's version of it in Annie Hall. When he arrives there and he can't see anything for the glare, and he's driving down the street.
And what's his name? The guy
Sunset
driving, he's
Boulevard.
got the hood on because of the sun. It's just-
Exactly. That is. I still laugh every time I see that. And it's one of my favorite movies, and I still just break into laughter. I know it's coming, but
And there's not a lot. I know it's stereotypical, but the authenticity of people out there. I mean, in New York and Boston, they're real people for better or for worse. But out there, it seems like everyone's hopping from one. I know it's a stereotype, but
yeah.
No, listen, we did a plastic surgery show. We did Extreme Makeover for 3 seasons for ABC.
So you went to like the 10 times 100, that level.
Now, the people who did Extreme Makeover were not from L.A. They were from all over the country that we brought in and gave this opportunity to. But the actual situation, the actual surgery and the recovery and all of that took place in a mansion out there that the show would rent.
Right. They lived in a mansion, and we spent somewhere between $70,000 and $250,000 a person for all of the things they needed, between dental, plastic surgery, hair replacement, everything.
I will say that this was not just for I want to look better and I have a better nose. These were people who seriously needed.
We feel like we brought deeper stories to that when we got involved in that, because it was just like, I need a nose job in the beginning, and then we found the stories of the cleft palates and the people that we restored their hearing.
It's not based on vanity.
No,
so
it
we
wasn't
did
based on
miraculous
vanity.
things. We restored hearing and took someone to the symphony for the first time, and we had this boy that had
that's really cool. So they had
15
the
botched.
Cochlear implants.
Yeah.
Do you know anything I got about that? You ever seen those videos of the people with the cochlear implants? And there's a bunch of videos, and you tear up when watching it. But they'll be behind them and say, "Can you hear me?" And they'll start crying and nodding. And I'm like, "Oh!" But then I'm like, "Wait a minute. How did they know what they were saying? How do you learn language when you're deaf?" That always bewildered me.
I'll tell you, talk to Jacob
And I just got a bunch of blank stares on that one.
I don't have the answer.
Yeah, Jacob Landis would be a good person to talk to on that. He's Randy Landis' kid who has a cochlear implant. He got it recently. He did the ride across the country, just raised money for other people to get it, which is really kind of interesting. Works at Whole Foods.
Yeah.
So how long did y'all do that?
3 seasons. I mean, we had amazing stories. We had a guy that had 15 botched cleft palate replacement. He was from a family that was a Jamaican family that at one point were homeless, living under the bridge in Miami. The mother was a nurse, and when he was the youngest, and when he was born, the father, he was so horrific looking with this kind of hole in his face. the father abandoned the family.
Oh. We had a woman who was bitten by a spider. And it was in a bag of her husband when he came home
like
from the war. He was a an army vet, Green Beret, and he brought home this spider without no brown recluse, and it jumped onto her face, and just the poison that it put in her whole forehead and head. And the army surgeons couldn't do enough, and she was a beautiful woman who had 3 great kids and young, and she just was damaged.
Disfigurement.
Yeah. Well, our job when we went, we always were we're the fairy godmothers. We got to surprise people that they were getting an extreme makeover, and then we told the backstory, and then we did the reveal when they came home. And then there were different producers that just did steps in the surgery and stuff in LA, because we were continually traveling around the country. So when we saw her, it was so bad that we went outside and we called the dermatologist, Dr. Shambam, and said, "You have got to promise us before we promise this woman that you can really fix this, because we've never seen anything this horrific."
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, and the thing is that it was never going to be perfect, and we knew that when we agreed to do this. But what we decided is if it was going to change her life in a really big way, it was worth it, even if it wasn't going to be perfect. And not only did she look amazing, and it was really beautiful, but we also were able to sneak her husband from Afghanistan back into the country and be there at the reveal. And everybody, there wasn't a dry eye, even the cameramen were crying.
14 flights around the world to get there, and the Army did not approve it, and he had done already 20 some years in, and he said, "I'm not missing this." So we hid him. We did it at Pinehurst in North Carolina.
Right.
And so he was hidden in another building, codenamed Harry Tasker.
We had some fun and games. It was very stressful, but I'll tell you one thing, that no matter what jobs we've done in the past, everything sort of feeds into a certain area for us, which is basically the human predicament. We are always looking at what is going on with people, in people's lives, what's happening to them, what change needs to happen in a place, and it's not, sometimes it's political, sometimes it's sociological, sometimes it's anthropological, sometimes it's just basic, down-to-earth, people to people. But we're trying to tell these people's stories, and we do it in documentary, we do it in, even when we do corporate pieces, we tell the stories of the companies.
Yeah.
That's who we are.
Right.
We are storytellers first. I think our first love, Patti will agree with me, is documentary. We like the true stories, but we also want to do true stories to the big screen, and we've done a little bit of that and hope to do more. And honestly, it's very rewarding. There's something therapeutic when you record people in a documentary and they might tell you about their aspirations or their hopes or their fears. It's documented, so they kind of have to live up to it. And in that way, it kind of helps them know someone's being accountable or their story's being shared, so that kind of pushes them to be their best self.
So you filmmakers first, or you storytellers first?
It's one and the same. You can't be a filmmaker if you're not a storyteller.
She's a filmmaker, she's a storyteller, she's a storyteller, and she's a filmmaker.
No,
but there are filmmakers that don't know how to tell a story.
Life.
There are plenty of those.
There are. But you can't be, if you're a storyteller in any way, you can be a filmmaker if you learn the basics. If you're not a natural storyteller, it's hard to ever be able to make that work. That's why there are a lot of filmmakers who they're storytellers, but they may not be great storytellers. And those are the films that sometimes don't resonate. They don't give the same meaning for the audience.
And that's probably something, you look to, obviously, when you do your summer camps, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
You've got, that's for youth and young adults, I would say.
It is. It's something very near and dear to our heart. We turned 15 years old this year, so we're very proud to say we started this way back when we were using tape and digital technology. Oh, yes.
That's right.
I learned on film.
Your guys are bonding. This is great. I love it.
Gotcha on that one.
And we're very strict, even with 11-year-olds. It's all about the story first. So they come in on day one. We get about 72 kids every year. We have 3 levels, beginner, intermediate, and advanced. And we hear pitches from every kid on the first day of camp. It's so much fun. They get up in front of the whole camp.
It's hilarious.
And pitch
an
original
idea. 2 minutes they get.
I'm an 11-year-old.
Yes, you are.
You can ask my girlfriend, and she will attest to that. And I want to come to FILMSTERS summer camp. Okay, and I've got a I want to get into film, and I've got this great little story that I think is very compelling. I come and I pitch it to you, and you say yes. So what do you teach me in the camp? I'm just curious. I mean, do you
soup to nuts? We teach you. I mean, about filmmaking.
I mean, so we're talking camera angles, production to editing, to
So the way we set this up, it's a very special program because it is an all hands-on therapeutic experiential learning program. So the kids actually do it, and we coach them through every step of the way. So you go from the idea. By the end of the first day, beginners, they know what film they're working on, what their job is. They're already doing an outline on the story. They're sitting in a group with the writers. They're location scouting. They're casting. The second day, the next morning, they get a tutorial on equipment, lighting, camera, sound. They get to practice. They're shooting their first scene on Tuesday afternoon. Right. They crash all the way through the rest of the week making the film.
Wednesday,
they're editing simultaneously.
Thursday, they're shooting all day.
They're running footage back, and the editor is already cutting as they keep shooting.
What do you use to edit?
For years we did Final Cut. We've now switched in the last 2 years to Adobe Premiere Pro, which is not perfect. It crashes a lot.
Yeah,
but
Adobe.
Yeah. And then we've had everything. We've had Avid and,
I started on Avid and Amex. Well, that was the first digital that I had before.
I still love
Avid.
So
when I sort of saw you guys filming at the Gateway Florist last summer, and that was your...
advanced program.
Okay, right, but that was your shooting day, I guess, presumably?
Yes, that was our shooting
more
day.
Than one. So beginners are a 5-day program. They finish a whole film in 5 days. It's a 5 to 8 minute film. Intermediate come Monday through Friday for 2 weeks. That's 10 days, and they make an 8 to 12 minute film at a little bit higher level. And then advanced does the first weekend is an intensive writing workshop, and then the second weekend, when we don't have any other kids, we go on location and we cast local actors and shoot like you saw us at Gateway in the community.
Let me just say something about the advanced program. It's a very special program, and we select the kids that go into it. As they come up.
The ones that I saw were like dead serious. It was like, don't screw with me here, dude. I'm on a mission from God.
These are the kids that, for the most part, are really interested in exploring the possibility of going to film schools or studying things in college that are relatable to this kind of work. So when they come in and they get an opportunity to be on set, and it is really like being on a movie set for a short film. And when they're there, they take it seriously. They got their jobs. They take them very seriously. They're working with their supervising producers and directors that we bring in that run these programs. We're on set usually, so they get a tremendous amount of information, and they really are hands-on. I mean, they're shooting the movie. They're behind the camera. There's a guidance. There's somebody telling them this is how it would look better to frame the shot, but what's your idea? And they're really learning all the way.
So it's one-on-one mentoring advanced program. So there are 10 slots, and each job has a professional coaching them. So we have a professional sound person that coaches the sound person, professional director, professional producer, professional writer, professional editor, professional...
And you're handpicking these kids.
Yeah, the kids are handpicked, but then we bring in...
They come out of our camp a lot of time. They
have to have an interview with us.
But some of them come from the outside.
But what it means is you have your eye on them, like you're picking out the ones.
We will tell them at the end of their intermediate year if they're ready to go up. We will invite them, but if we know them. But if we also got a lot of kids that have never had that experience, and we have to know they're not going to let the group down because it is that serious. They're all really trying to strive for something that's festival worthy, that will be a calling card for them to get into a top film school. And enrollment at film school has gone up 400% in the last 5 years.
So they interview with us. Those kids from the outside who haven't done our camp but want to be in the advanced program, 16 to 18-year-olds, they have to come and do an interview with us.
It's like a short college experience.
We're better. How many 16-year-olds do you know that get to shoot in 4K with an easy rig and 6 prime lenses?
I know a bunch, but I know a lot of people.
But some of the film schools are getting to know who we are now, and they're understanding that the kids that are coming from FILMSTERS Academy have had a very special experience that other kids haven't had.
What are your thoughts on film school? Because I'm a movie fanatic, like I guess a lot of people are. But to me, whenever I see interviews with Spielberg or Scorsese, the common thread is they are like, "Well, I was making movies when I was a kid, and like with an 8mm."
Right.
So like those are the kids, and then they go to film school.
Right.
But then you have those people who don't and say, "Don't need it,"
Right.
But they're
it can be both ways. I mean, personally, I believe,
like there's a stylistically way that, for example, Spike Lee, who I'm a fan of for the most part, but you could tell he's a product of film school because he's stylistically for not merely as a storyteller but from a cinematography sort of point of view. Whereas, I look at...
He developed a style, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Through school.
You'd be able to watch a movie and know it's Spike Lee. And same way with Martin Scorsese.
And same with Spielberg. There are a lot of them. And to be honest with you, there are a lot of filmmakers and terrific filmmakers that have not gone to film school, but have had other experiences, other life experiences that have given them this edge and have a natural sense of style and cinematic vision. But I think, for the most part, some kind of training in this field, because there's the technology has to match the editorial piece, and those two things are often separated. In the real world, you get a lot of tech people who don't know anything about how do I editorially put a story together. But to be a good filmmaker, you have to really have an understanding, a basic understanding of how it fits together. So
my kids are 11 and 12ish, around there.
Oh, perfect. They come to camp age.
But they've really gotten into movies, and I like classic movies and stuff. They've really gotten into that, and it was interesting watching them. Like, we were watching To Kill a Mockingbird the other day, and I was explaining to them about the camera angles in the courtroom scene, how important they were, and what they indicate. Oh. And it was, I took film classes in college, and that's when you learn about the cinematography and the actual style of the movie tells a story. Yeah,
and when you're going into these scenes and you see these super close-ups, it's not a manipulation. It is a manipulation of a kind, but it's a way of bringing in the audience to inside that person. You're going into the eyes of the other person, and they're trying to say, this is where you got to get deeper into the soul of what's happening here. And so these cinematographers have to be their guidance. They're guiding the audience into what to feel and think.
The movie's made in editing. That's where.
Well, it's made way before that.
An editor told me that.
Yeah,
so.
well, that's why. No, but let's put it this way. It's made everywhere. It's made in the script, because without a great script, you've got nothing.
I consider myself a writer, so I think that's where it's all made. No,
it's really, if you don't have a good script, you can have everything else perfect and the movie falls flat. Production, if you have a crappy production, if there's not a cinematic look or these shots, it doesn't feel fluid and it doesn't have then you might edit it great, but something is going to be missing. But if you've got those things going and you have a bad editor, you can still ruin everything.
I'm trying to think of a movie.
Bad editing is so important. It is what drives the story home. I mean, it's what brings the whole thing into the package.
It is, but I mean, to get back to that original question of what do they learn in the program, we set up our camp. It's very special. I don't think there's any other program in the country like it. We set it up like a giant movie set. So
that was my question. Where is there anything around the regional area that's
not like this? There are a lot of little. There's Tech ID Camp, and I even heard Maryland Hall is going to do a few classes here and there, but nothing like this. This is professional level immersion, and we basically have departments like on a movie set. So there's the operations department, then there's camera department, lighting department, sound department, special effects department, writing department, acting department. We have wardrobe, props, and the kids go, and we have all of these staff that are outfitting them for their costumes, and they're talking about what their character looks like, and then we pass them to the makeup station, and they get the makeup on, and then
we have stunt coordinators that come in, and they fly them in front of green screens, and I mean, it's really you just don't see this kind of thing. The kids, 12-year-old and 13-year-old kids, are getting to participate in.
Right, and you guys provide the equipment to do this too.
Everything.
It's a very crazy and very costly venture. Every year
we're silly.
And
to do this.
The other piece, and a lot of people don't know, and we'll say it, but we don't want a lot of inquiries about it because now we work through some other partners. But
okay, so nobody listen.
We're very proud to say that in 15 years we've been able to scholarship over 100 kids to film camp.
Wow.
Most of them are kids of color that never have these creative opportunities. So one of the greatest things about our camp is it's an equal playing ground. It doesn't matter what neighborhood you're from, where you got your sneakers, what your dad does. It's all about ideas, and everybody can compete about
and we've
being
had a
creative
partnership
with
the Boys and Girls Club over the years.
And primarily from the area?
Yes and no. Last year, I mean, we've had international students. We try to find, if kids are from out of state, we try to find a host family that would allow the student to stay with another student's family.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, they come primarily from from this region, but it's expanding to Virginia and Delaware. We had people driving in from Delaware, and sometimes the parents will get a little hotel room downtown and stay for the week while their kid goes to beginners and enjoy town. So we're bringing economic...
Nothing wrong with that. Let's talk a little bit about the film festival, where it came from, and then we'll sort of wrap it up and talk about this year's film festival.
Great.
But now, the Annapolis Film Festival, okay, you guys have been making movies here in Annapolis for forever, and you guys were out drinking one night, doing shots, and said, let's do a film fest, and that's how it came about, right?
No.
And then
that's
somebody
not
said,
how it came
dumb
about.
idea? Well, it's sort of like how this podcast came about.
That's how I got married.
It really came about
that was
because
a really stupid idea.
Lee and I were on the festival circuit ourselves with our own documentary in the early 2000s.
What was it about?
And it's a long story.
A troubled kid that got caught up in the juvenile justice system.
Yeah.
There's a whole
Jamesy Boy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it was
doing
it was the pre-Jamesy Boy story.
Okay, so it was like Star Wars 3 to Star Wars.
Yeah.
Well, it was the real story
it
of
was
James.
It was number 2 of the trilogy of this story.
So we did really well with that film. We won a ton of awards all over the country in places like Seattle and other big festivals. So we ended up in Colorado Springs, Colorado, which we got invited because we were women filmmakers, and they do a Rocky Mountain Women's Film Festival. So we thought, well, we'll go,
We're women. We can do that.
It was the coolest thing because the whole town was involved, and it was about the same size as Annapolis. And we have the Naval Academy, and they had the Air Force Academy, and they had the mountains, and we have the Bay. And it was about the same population, and they have Colorado College, and we have St. John's. And we thought, this is really interesting, the way they're doing this, because I don't think we had seen it so immersive in a community before anywhere. And the women that volunteered and ran it were awesome. So that kind of became our motto. We kind of said,
be awesome.
Well,
we want to bring something back here.
I mean, Annapolis was Colorado Springs,
I totally
in a
see the
very
parallels
sort of way.
on there.
But it was not just that. It wasn't just that festival. It was just the whole touring around and seeing how Annapolis really was a destination city for a film festival. And as much as we loved the arts here, we hadn't really embrace them in the way that these other communities had embraced them.
I think you're being kind. I don't think the art scene here is...
I was being kind.
Yeah, with Maryland Hall is good.
Right.
But I mean...
You're right. It needed something. A kick.
And I will say that the art scene was struggling here. I mean, you had Linnell over at Maryland Hall that was doing what she could to, raise money for windows.
Right.
Brian would throw some things in 49 West and have somebody with a thing. And it
the
was really
fine artists had their thing.
You had the same musicians playing the same bars, everything.
Right.
And that was sort of the extent of it.
Right.
But I will say that I think that since the film festival has come in, you've really taken a leadership role in expanding that. I mean, we look at, we've got murals that the city is suing over now.
Well, we opened the floodgates, I think, because what happened is that because we knew there had been a previous film festival here as well, that we said if we're coming in and we're going to be the Annapolis Film Festival and people have already had little bits and pieces of these kinds of things, we better come in big. So we had said from the beginning, it's go big or go home. And this was our vision from the beginning, that we had to establish a festival that was going to reach all of Annapolis, that it wasn't going to be just for one group of people, people who were interested in the arts. It had
Ward
to be
1, we're talking to you.
Well, it had to be for diverse audiences.
Right.
It had to be on, subject matters everywhere. It had to be able to bring in everyone in our community and make them feel wanted, and that it would be accessible for them and affordable for them. And these were all things we had to think about.
Walkable and walkable, accessible, affordable, and programmed for all populations. That was like our mission.
Right.
Keeping things dry.
And that's a good point about the arts in this town, is I never thought about it, is that, what Linnell does at Maryland Hall is great. I like ballet, I like opera,
Sure,
but it's
we
niche.
all do.
Well, no, we all don't. That's the problem.
Niche,
is that you don't have anything that appeals to
everyone,
and you can't be everyone.
But that's what this is. That's what this film festival does. Yeah. And every year we work harder to broaden that perspective. As we program and bring in other things connected to programming, like panels and special events and whatever, special guests. We're trying to broaden it so we are including our population, and not just our community, but our county, and then our state, and then our Mid-Atlantic region, and that's what's happening.
It doesn't do us any good to do. I mean, this is an incredible, enormous amount of work. You know that.
Yeah.
There's a handful of us that put it together. It's essentially 77 different events over 4 days. We use 19 venues now. We have 5 screening venues. We have a lot of community partners and a lot of in-kind support that enable us to do this. But beyond that, the idea that this is for everyone, I don't think that's really been done in a broad way.
And I think you've done it very well.
Here.
I mean, the years, and I've attended very minorly the first year, and in a more major way as you're the second, third, and fourth year. We're rolling into the fifth year. But I mean, I see more minorities. I see young kids that are very interested in doing that. Which, I know, as a kid, I'd be like, film festival, geez, Mom, what the hell are you thinking? But I'm seeing that. I'm seeing young. I'm seeing old, and it's a very friendly event. I find people are passing on the street and whatnot, and it's educational to me because my experience with films has been sitting in a theater watching what goes. And as I'm talking to people, as I'm seeing things and how things develop, you get the directors that will have a little talk beforehand or something like that, explain how this went. One of the funniest things I'd ever heard was it last year you had the LBJ movie?
No, that we had the JFK thing?
JFK and LBJ.
Time for Greatness.
Time for the documentary.
About the civil rights. And
that
the
was
woman
2 years ago.
She went to Wiley Bates High School.
Right. It was 2 years ago. And there was somebody at one of the events was talking about, says, "Oh yeah, I can't wait to go to see that LBJ movie because I'm always wondering about that whole transgender thing." And I'm like going, I've got my head cocked. I'm like going, okay. No, you're thinking of the LBJ.
That's good though. They actually think it's for everyone.
We have LGBT.
Yeah, we do.
We do. I mean,
you're all laughing. I just caught up to that just now. I was laughing too,
funny.
like I got it, and I just got it.
You'll laugh even more when I tell you who it was. But
part of our job from the beginning, as the co-founders and the festival directors, which people are always confused because there's 2 of us, but it's an enormous job, and we do complementary things together to make this happen. We were able to already just know certain areas that we can focus on that the community. It's part of our identity. So we always have a sailing film. We'll always have something with military. We'll always have an African-American experience. We'll always have a Jewish experience with bagels, lox, and coffee. We'll always have student showcase to show the work of emerging filmmakers. We'll always do an education day with the county schools where we bus in 300 to 600 kids to see
as long as they continue to work with us.
And these are the ways that, so those become the tent poles that people know every year there's going to be these showcases. But then the rest is we get to sprinkle in everything that reflects the year we've had, because life reflects art reflects life. So every year it changes, and the slate changes, and we're able to.
You know what our challenges
bring
are?
This in.
Because we have a big vision. We don't have a tiny vision. We don't have a niche vision, as you were saying.
Yeah, no, you didn't come in small.
We have a big vision, and it's growing. And so our biggest challenge is that we have a community that loves us, that supports us in every way. We need a lot more support.
Financially.
We need a lot more financial support. But we have a city that loves us, but that hasn't yet been able to find a way to give us any money. So that's a problem as well, because most film festivals are supported by their.
Okay, so Alderman Budge, Alderman Pay, Alderman Bindell Charles, Alderman Finlayson, Alderman Kirby.
They know. We've spoken before them, and they're very supportive of us in many ways. And the mayor has been supportive. Both mayors have been very supportive since we've been here, and we know that we are well liked in there. It's just that we need money.
Well, you bring an awful lot to the city, to be honest with you.
Well, we sat down and we showed them a PowerPoint and said, you may or may not know this, but we estimate we brought $2 million worth of revenue into the city in the last 4 years, in 4 days a year. Okay. What are you going to do for us?
And you are paying an amusement tax, correct, or something? No. Okay, I didn't know.
We license the films, though. I mean, I don't think people realize the things we do have to pay for. We travel. Every filmmaker and industry guest, we pay their airfare or their train ticket. We accommodate them and put them in a hotel for 3 or 4 nights.
And our hotel partners take care of a lot of that, but we end up paying for quite a few hotel rooms as well. We provide parties at multiple venues, and it's catering and it's booze and it's all this stuff. We also license every feature film is licensed for the most part, and some shorts even. Right. And now, last year, we traveled our first international guests from Buenos Aires and Copenhagen, and we hope to do more of that in the future to bring more international guests here. But and then we have to do tremendous signage, marketing,
all of this, and we have this small but mighty staff. I think we actually probably have the best team we've ever had this year.
How many people do you have on staff?
We have the structure is
counting us. It's 8.
Is it 7 or 8? I think.
Counting us, it's 8. I think.
So it's the two of us, festival directors. We have Rich, and Rich is festival producer this year, under us to sort of execute.
Monica Shorn is the director of programming.
Derek Horn is festival manager, and he's also our shorts programmer. And then we have Mackenzie Pendry stepping into operations this year. Andrew LaHaye returns as production coordinator, and then we have a new addition in Chelly Scow, who's doing programming coordination. So she handles print traffic, and we're still lacking a basic tech person this year, which would be helpful.
And then, okay, so you've got a basic staff, not a very big one. How many volunteers do you usually?
That is what helps us.
Now, don't get too carried. I mean, we have volunteers for that weekend,
right,
numbering about 225. Right. We have 400 on our list.
Okay, so those are the ticket takers and
everybody,
the wranglers,
the people that really are the, what is it? We're the heart and the brains, and they're the legs and the arms and the eyes. Are our committee chairs. So we have a lot of committees, and we have a lot of really dedicated committee chairs who are professional people that give a great deal of an amount of time to make this happen.
Without them, this festival couldn't take place. Let's put it that way.
And then obviously you have a board of directors.
We have a fantastic board of directors. Our president,
all of them. Every single one of them?
Every one.
You're not going to throw anybody under?
We're not going to throw anyone under the bus.
One. Who is it?
We're not going to throw anyone over the bus. We love John.
John's the worst.
But Lucy Spiegel is the president of our board. This is her third year as the president. She came from CNN as an executive. When she retired, she came to us as a board president. And she's been remarkable. I mean, she's helped really bring the board together, bring us all together, and kept the unit strong. And so we've been very fortunate to have her, and a lot of new board members that are coming in every year. It's really exciting that we have a board that's supportive and that is beginning to really understand what it takes to put a festival on.
And you've done this all in 4 years, not quite 5 years.
Well, we set some goals for ourselves. We hit a few earlier than anticipated. Some we haven't reached yet that we thought we would. We want to become, can I say this? We want to become the best film festival in the Mid-Atlantic region. There are a lot of festivals. There's DC Shorts, and there's AFI, but they're a little more niche-y. Like there's either shorts or they're docs or they're this, or there's the Jewish Film Festival. And Maryland is not our identity. Maryland is a very different animal. Yeah. We're very friendly with them, and they know who they are, and we know who we are. Yeah. But we do think we attract a really different audience. So we have a little more global, worldly, cosmopolitan community, and we have different kinds of programming for that audience. But on top of it, we're doing something. This is the second year that this is really growing, is that we really feel like we want to underscore the relationship between technology and film. And so we're, again, going to have another tech talk. Our big sponsor from last year, Nimble Storage, is back.
Like, what do you mean?
So...
Well, I'll tell you what, but let's get into this year's film festival in a little bit. I want to get a cup of coffee, refill my cup of coffee right now.
Why do you do this every episode? Why don't you just keep your coffee filled the whole time?
No, we need to get coffee.
Needs a bigger cup.
We'll be back in a second.
In 2015, Anne Arundel Medical Center had to transfer more than 1,100 mental health patients to a mental health facility outside of this area for care because the facilities they needed do not exist in our own community. These patients and families are our friends, loved ones, and co-workers, and they deserve better. Join Anne Arundel Medical Center and presenting sponsor M&T Bank on Saturday, April 29th in Annapolis at AAMC's Denim and Diamonds Bash. Denim and Diamonds is a wonderful evening under the stars, featuring fabulous cuisine, gourmet food trucks, silent auction, and dancing, all to support expanding mental health care in our community. It's an evening of great fun, but it's not just a party. For tickets and sponsorship, visit aamcdenimanddiamonds.org.
And we're back. That was all about Anne Arundel Medical Center Denims and Diamonds, which was a great party 2 years ago.
That was fantastic.
You were there.
I was there.
You were.
I don't remember.
I'm surprised you remember it.
I do remember.
Have you guys ever been?
No, but I love the title.
Yeah, it's kind of neat. They put it in it sounds real hokey, but they put it in a big old tent in a parking lot. But it's spectacular.
No, but it's phenomenal what they do. I mean, when you say tent, I mean it's like.
No, it's
50,000 square feet. It had food trucks.
Yeah,
years ago.
It's a big thing. But over there by the Annapolis Exchange on Jennifer Road,
Uber at home.
That's true. Yeah. That's true. I remember I got thrown out of the Green Turtle the night that happened last time. Teresa and I went over and had a nightcap after it ended.
Nightcap.
And then it was like 2:30, and they're like, "Okay, dudes, you need to leave." I was like, I've never been thrown out of the Green Turtle. I don't know whether I should consider that a badge of honor or not.
Amateur.
Anyhow, so we were talking about the birth of the film festival and sort of the genesis of it, your board and everything else. And now we are on the precipice of you guys losing your minds and bringing on the 2017 5th anniversary of the Annapolis Film Festival. Big thing is the dates, the end of March, right?
March 30 to April 2nd.
Okay, which is a long weekend.
Thursday through Sunday.
Right. How many films? I know you don't have your slate down, but how many films do you anticipate?
70.
Wow.
At the opening night is Thursday. That's the only film we show on Thursday. At least still this year. That may change in the future, but right now Thursday is opening night, and that film will be at 7 o'clock at Maryland Hall this year. Back home at Maryland Hall. So
you guys have grown not just steadily but exponentially. Is there ever a point where you're looking at Annapolis going, "Oh, we're running out of venues"?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean it's a challenge every year because we create the screening venues. We have to enhance all the sound projection and screens at every venue. There's not a turnkey place anywhere.
Well, I know the church on West Street is wonderful.
The one in Eastport I've always wanted to see do something with
that.
I'd love to have them there.
That's an under development.
Right. Yeah. So. But you've got the church that you've used on West Street.
Right.
I know you've used St. Anne's Parish House.
Yes, we still do.
Green Street Elementary School gym and whatnot. And I know there's also the Maryland Theater for Performing Arts, which is on the horizon, which would be a great venue in probably year 8. I'm guessing, depending on how their fundraising goes.
80th.
Well, and we have Maryland Hall, and we have St. John's Auditorium and the conversation room for panels. And we also have O'Callahan's for panels on Friday and Ram's Head in the morning on Saturday. So we move it around. But the problem we've had is that we don't have a turnkey, as Lee just said, for movies. We don't have a movie theater. We don't have anything that carries, that holds the new digital DCP.
Sound and
a lot of film festivals in small communities, they at least have one movie theater in their town.
One little one-screen theater.
And that can be their home base, or that can be where they sent their big first-run movies.
Do you miss the sound of the rattling of the film when it starts, or is that just me?
That's just you.
Yeah.
Although I do like
Call him out.
It's like someone who says, I miss the pops and hisses of vinyl.
Yeah.
No, all right, you mentioned
a little
something
nostalgic.
I know about it because I've done the thing, but a lot of people haven't gone to a film festival before. Okay, you said panels and stuff like this. So this is not all about going in, sitting through a 3-hour movie. And then
they're not 3 hours anyway.
Popcorn
but it's more than that because it's really about engagement. So part of a festival is that you're not just watching the film. You get a chance to talk to the actor, the producer, the director, somebody there from the film, and you get to reflect on their work, and they're thrilled to have an audience to respond to their work. So there's this engagement that happens at the end of every film. Most films.
Right.
Well, I remember last year, and I think his last name was Logan Miller.
Yeah,
was it young kid?
Yes.
Was there? I know I spoke to several young ladies that were just like
you did.
Totally Leo DiCaprio-ing all over him.
Right.
I mean, he was in the dark film with
he was
James
in The
Caan.
Waiting, which has now been released as The Good Neighbor.
He was in 2 films. He was
and he was
also
in the Nebraska
Take Me
one.
to the Water.
He was in the Take Me to the Water. Right.
Which was phenomenal. And this is a young actor. He was maybe 20?
23.
Okay. He was there. He was accessible to talk to. There's producers and everything else, and you've got the different say seminars, but the different workshops.
Right.
We do. We have usually 4 on Friday at O'Callahan's upstairs in the Galway room, and then we have Ram's Head 2 and 1 on Saturday or Sunday at the conversation room at St. John's.
Right. And I also find that the conversation amongst filmgoers is I mean, I watched La La Land the other night at Harbor Center, and the movie ended. We got up and walked down the steps and went home.
Yeah.
And that was the extent of it.
Right.
But I have never seen that here, I mean, people are milling about in the hallway and talking, oh my God, did you see that? Did you think that was really cool? Or
that's the difference between a film festival and just going to a movie.
That's the frame of mind you're in.
Yeah, that's
Do you ever see, you were just saying that you're going to Sundance.
I am going to Sundance on next Thursday.
Now, did there ever get a point with a film festival, and I've heard that with Sundance, I've never been to a large film festival, but like I think Telluride is now the hot one.
It's always been hot, but yeah, it's very small, but it's very important.
Is it the point that when it gets to like Sundance, where it's a film festival, but it's lost its cachet just because everyone's there and it's not innovative?
Well, Sundance is still the most important festival in the world. It's considered
more so than Cannes.
It's considered the
American,
the treasure. The American treasure. Cannes and Toronto are the biggest and probably the most important in terms of market,
like licensing and
all,
selling your film,
selling and all the big films that are going there, and Berlin is big as well. But in this country, it all starts at Sundance. It's Sundance. Everybody tries to get into Sundance. They don't. It sometimes has a very quirky schedule. It's not always deciding what the greatest films are. Like anything, they have their slate
story.
and their but they have ideas of which direction they're going each year. They change it up, and people want to be there. That's where you want to be seen. And then after that, there's South by Southwest, and there's Tribeca, and there's Telluride, and these film festivals. I mean, there are a lot of really top A-level film festivals, and then there are a lot of smaller festivals that are coming in that are picking up the slack because most films can't get into these festivals. There's so many films being made today.
And that's my point.
So many films.
So your innovation is going to be found really at the smaller ones. I mean, that I guess that's
true.
Point.
Well, we're never going to be a market festival. We're never going to be a Sundance here. But we know we're a networking festival where, compared to a big festival,
if you're looking at where true film, like not true films, but I mean, there's a certain coldness to I think
pure indie.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, because do you have? There's more channels than ever to get your like you and I were talking. We started on 3/4 inch, but now when I started in production 25 years ago, you had a $50,000 tube camera,
right?
And now my iPhone, which costs $600,
can do the same thing.
Can do it
better,
1,000 times better. Right. So the tools that you had 25 years ago are available to everybody right now. So anybody can be a filmmaker. Now, can they be a good one?
So 15 years ago was the democratization of the technology. Starting 5 years ago was the democratization of distribution.
Exactly.
So now there are all these platforms. There's Hulu, there's Amazon Prime, there's Netflix, there's YouTube, there's Vimeo,
and they're the most innovative too.
Yeah, well, so the onus for the marketing falls on the producer because now there's a glut of content
but
that you have to be
new
heard.
Marketing tools too with social media, and
you do.
So you don't have to spend a ton on print media or if you're good. I mean, it's the whole Blair Witch effect.
But the fact is, it's still the artistic and the important filmmakers are going to rise from the pack of everybody that's shooting with their iPhone that has an idea.
Right.
I mean, you're going to get a lot more content now, but there's still going to be that cream that rises. And the top festivals are going to grab that cream, and they're going to put it out there, for everybody. And the smaller festivals and the newer festivals, and a festival like ours, which really has an interest in becoming an important part of the festival scene. We're not going to be satisfied with just being a little local regional festival. We do want to be more, but we're being smart about it. We're growing, in a way that makes sense.
So you're becoming part of the festival conversation on a larger national scale.
We were excited when we were written about by Script Magazine. They wrote
magazine?
Script Magazine wrote wonderful.
That's not the one I subscribe to.
Wonderful comments about the fact that when you go to a Tribeca, they march a Ron Howard out on the stage. You never meet Ron Howard, but here you can just go to a party or on the street and approach somebody. It's much more intimate, and we always designed it to be that way because that's part of the experience too. We want it to be accessible to everybody.
Well, that plugs you in as the attendee. You're not just not passive. That you actually are part of that.
Right.
So that's part of the whole experience.
And we're changing this year, 2017. Our festival will be the same festival, but it will be different because the way we're growing and the things that we're expanding and the new things we want to bring in and the way we're looking at everything that we're doing, it changes and it gets tweaked and improved, and that's what we're trying to do with it.
We're very
it brings a new festival every single year.
Yes,
right. It's fresh.
It's not the same experience. It's not like, okay, must walk to Maryland Hall, must walk to you know.
It's different.
How many events? I just came back from a board meeting where we have an event every year, and I just was looking at it, and it was basically the date was changed at the top, and after a while there's no innovation. And it was it was for an alumni group, something like that. But I mean,
we're always pushing the envelope here. I mean, we've been edgy with some of the films. I mean, we know just about how much we can push it in the community to, part of our job as filmmakers are to bring the stories about the most relevant things. And I think there's a real need for film festivals now because a lot of stories aren't being shared out in the regular media in the world, and we're able to share them. They're wonderful films about really interesting topics that are relevant
from all over the world.
Well, I think a good film, and I'll cite one from last year, and I don't remember the name of the title but it was the they can make you feel uncomfortable.
Yes,
and there was that child that where the village where the sexual predators were put. I don't remember the title.
It was called
Pervert Park.
Pervert Park, and it was just like.
A very important film,
it was like,
though.
But no, I mean, that was a conversation that needed to be had.
Yeah.
It was,
but we were talking to Gavin about this. Gavin Buckley, who's running for mayor, and he's the one who's being sued by the city over over the murals.
That was that was sort of the thing, the mouth for your...
But we took a lot of heat for that.
I told Joe the other night, Joe Barson designs the logo for 5 years, and the new one this year is absolutely phenomenal. It made up for the one last year, I told him, because...
I took a lot of heat for it.
I didn't particularly like it. I told Jeff Huntington, who did the mural, that I said I love that it's there, but I can't stand the actual mural. So if you're making a poster size, don't count on me buying one.
But my point with we were talking about Gavin is we were talking because of that mural is because I said Annapolis is a very conservative town. I don't mean conservative politically. I mean conservative is Annapolis does not like change.
It's traditional.
Annapolis likes
traditional.
The older middle-aged people at the bars wearing their Sperry's after a day of sailing. That's what the town likes. And I think there's a whole new type of movement in town that's challenging that and is being deliberately provocative. And I think we need that. I think a film festival where you have these ideas so that it's not. It's stuff that makes you think. It's stuff that might offend you, but it's stuff that spurs a conversation.
But that's our goal.
Yeah.
These conversations should not last 4 days. They should last 365 days.
Mm-hmm. Right, and longer. And the fact is they have to be within the entire community. They can't just be in a little pocket of the community. One of the things that this is why we do the African American experience, because when we have white and black people together in that church for that Friday night event.
Phenomenal.
It's amazing. I mean, 2 years ago we had it, and the subject was about racism, basically. And in Annapolis, Maryland, has a community, has an audience was half black and half white for that particular event, talked about that issue.
Never.
I mean, it's phenomenal.
Never.
And we have to thank, the community's starting to wake up. And when we were approached by Asbury, and they said, we want to be a partner with you. We want to bring people into this church because we're the oldest African-American church built in 1803. And half the community...
No, it's on West Street.
It's on West Street.
Oh, okay.
It's right across from the Lowe's.
87 West Street.
Oh, okay.
And they said half the community's never stepped foot in here. They don't even know there's a museum on the third floor.
Right.
No, it's right next to Level. The one up, a couple doors up from Level.
And that's part of our history. And we have to honor all of the history, not just the white history, all of the history.
Right. Well, let's talk about the different venues. We talked about Asbury United Methodist Church, and where are your venues this year? Are they nailed down?
No, the venues are the same. It's Asbury. It's going to be the St. Anne's Parish House. It's going to be the Green Street Elementary School, and it's going to be Maryland Hall and the Maryland Hall Gym. It's going to be the auditorium, the gym. We don't get it on Saturday because they have another event in there.
Okay.
But
Stupid
it will be
ballet.
Thursday, Friday, and Sunday, and maybe the gym a little bit on Saturday, and St. John's, which we have on the weekend only, Saturday and Sunday.
Okay.
So those will be our screening event locations.
But then we also have coffee talks every morning at Chesapeake Brew Company next to Lowe's. Coffee talks.
I can't figure it out with the Saturday Night Live Coffee Talk with Paul Baldwin.
Coffee talks
are special unannounced guests each morning. You get surprised every time you come in. They're important people from the festival, and you learn. It's like inside baseball. You get to ask a bunch of questions about what was it like to work with so-and-so. I mean, we've had Oscar winners sitting in there. One year we had David Ward, who won the Oscar for The Sting, and we had Gabriella Cristiani, who was the editor for Bernardo Bertolucci, and they both are Oscar winners sitting there having coffee with everybody answering questions.
They're talking about working with Redford. They're talking about working with... I mean, these are the kind of things, but but the backstories, the behind-the-scenes funny little tales come out at Coffee Talk.
There's a great podcast called I Was There Too. It's fantastic. And it's a guy, he'll talk to someone with a bit part in a movie for an hour. And it is, I tell you, it is fascinating. It's the guy in Caddyshack when Bill Murray is telling the Dalai Lama story, and he's the kid that he's got the pitchfork to the throat, and he's just telling the story. So they had an hour interview with that guy who's in that scene, and I'm telling you, you're riveted the whole time.
That's funny.
But his whole podcast is just one minor character. He had one of the guys from Goodfellas, the guy that was in. He had like 4 lines, and he was the guy that he and his wife were shot in the car. It was the beginning of the montage. He was fantastic.
We have a film this year that will highlight the craziness that happens when someone gets a little taste of fame.
Right.
So this is about a character actor in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. I won't say the name of the film yet, but it is hilarious. It was hilarious to us because he also has become one of the world's most prominent Sinatra impersonators.
Right.
So his vision is he wants to have this anniversary and he wants to recreate Sinatra's concert at Madison Square Garden. And it goes from this grand plan to, and I know a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy that could help us, and
it's ridiculous.
It is when
very
the people shooting the documentary end up producing the event because they can't get anybody to help. It is hilarious. If you want to be entertained about the business, that's
one of the movies to see. Any other movies that we need to see?
We are taking a movie called Jackson, which is a very kind of hard-hitting film about a abortion clinic, the last standing abortion clinic in Mississippi.
Okay.
And it's about to be closed down, and there's an internal battle, and it really shows the people who are trying to keep it opened, and the people who are the nice women, community women, Southern women who are, for all the right reasons that they believe, are trying to say you need to abstain. This is not the way to do it.
Yeah.
So,
right.
But it's also showing how their laws are being changed on a statewide basis, where there's a mandate that every abortion clinic has to have a hospital to go to for emergencies. So they're doing it everywhere, and basically they're setting it up so the hospitals will not accept that role, and then it makes them not in compliance, and therefore they can close down the clinic and not provide care.
It's a runaround, is what it is. Yeah. It's a runaround, and this is a very important film, particularly in light of everything that's going on. And it's a young filmmaker,
right.
And we hope she will be coming too. So,
well, just the division right now you have. I mean, not to get into the politics of it, is I've never seen in my life such an ideological division between regular Americans, and the worst part is that people don't want to see each other on both sides. I'm not doing a false equivalency, but on both sides, no one wants to see the other person's view or their reasons. So
this is what I'm saying. This is an important film because you may not agree with the bent of this film, but the fact is, it's just like any of these other films. We have to know what's going on because this film shows how both sides. That's what I was.
It's a fantastic
job. It shows how both sides feel and what they think and why they think it. It's not like you're the bad guy and you're the good guy.
These
are real
two
feelings
belief systems battling. Right. And we were really impressed. We saw this film in New Orleans at the film festival there. This filmmaker is a 26-year-old girl named Maisie Crow, and it's her first feature. And she did an amazing job of walking that journalistic line right down the middle and showing fairly both sides of the story. So we were thrilled to bring it.
It goes back to what we said way at the beginning of this, is it's the story.
Right.
It's all about the story. We have another story about a guy from Hyattsville, African-American gentleman, who's a jazz artist, and he befriends the KKK in Maryland.
I read about that. That's amazing. Like one person at a time that he's getting people to leave the
all through conversations and relationships.
He's a really cool guy. I read all about him.
Okay, so you guys are gearing up to go into your crazy, crazy time right about now. The website it is up, but it's sort of reflective of last year.
It's about to
and you really should go. You should really go check that out and see, because of some of the fun stuff that did happen last year and some of the films that were there. It was really great. Going to be updated fairly soon.
Yes, and I'm very hopeful. Certainly, when I get back from Sundance, we're going to be, I think, bringing this to a close and actually being able to announce our slate in early February.
And the website
we're hopeful. The website will go up in...
The website is AnnapolisFilmFestival.com.
All right, and you have Facebook and Twitter?
We have a vibrant Facebook and Twitter, but if you want to sign up for our weekly e-blast, go to the homepage and look for a little orange flag on the bottom. It says... What does it
sign
say
up
there?
for our weekly e-blast or something.
You click on
something
it.
original
subscribe
like that.
me. It says subscribe me, and you click there, and you just put your email address and
And
name
when
in.
is our website going to be updated?
We go live with everything March 1st. We will roll out all the tickets available, and like last year, you can also buy tickets on Facebook and look for trailers to also appear on Facebook.
You can buy passes now, though. I mean, soon.
Yes, I would suggest you get them very soon. We sold out of our holiday.
A pass gets you the whole kit and caboodle, right? All of your movies.
Be careful how you say that. It is a general festival pass. There are different levels of all access for all the parties and everything else, but it costs a lot more.
But a general festival pass would get me into
unlimited films and
unlimited
panels.
films, except for the opening night, I think.
Well, no, if you get there in queue, I mean, it's definitely general admission, first come, first serve.
Right.
But that does get you in the opening night film, opening night after party, which is our big community party, and that gets you into Best of the Fest, which we're going to have a big awards event
where everybody votes for the.
And just so you also, I think it's interesting to know that we are doing our big after party on opening night at the Boys and Girls Club gym this year.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it's right across from Maryland Hall, and we're very excited about being able to bring the community. We're going to turn that place into an incredible film festival party.
The one thing that is really very cool about the Annapolis one, too, I think, is that it's so walkable. Okay, you've got Maryland Hall, you've got the Boys and Girls Clubs right down there behind Bates. Coming down West Street, you can go from one festival, to one location to the next in maybe 10 minutes. Very walkable.
We will also have the little Boys and Girls Club buses that will be trucking everybody around town this year. They're a wonderful partner. Again, we just want to thank the community for everybody helping so much, to give so much to make this happen. We could not do this.
And I just want to point out that April Nyman and the Arts Council have been just completely 100% behind us from day one, and we just could not do this without them.
It's been great, but I mean, I am looking forward to the Annapolis Film Festival March 30th to April 2nd, and Lee's just not blowing smoke up our butts about buying the passes now, because they probably will sell out.
They will.
There's a limited number.
It is a busy event. It is a busy 4 days.
It's gotten huge over the last few years. I know,
you can buy individual tickets to individual shows if you want to see them.
Absolutely.
But again, if you have an interest in seeing 3 or more movies over the weekend, I would probably say a day pass or a full festival pass would be the way to go. Is my suggestion.
Well, the full festival pass gets you into that, at least if you're in there on time to opening night and to the after party at opening night.
Last year, we could not sell tickets to opening night. So if you don't get a pass, you're probably not going.
Right.
Well, we will have a rush line for opening night, because a lot of times sponsors and people who have it, people don't actually show up.
Right.
So then people will be able to be seated if they're in the rush line.
Even for the big sponsors, they still have to arrive a certain amount of time beforehand, because we do need to start on time and seat people on time. So you would have a chance if you got in the rush line, you might get in. There'd probably be, 20 people that don't show.
Right. We're going to have a big opening night. We can't tell you right now what the film is going to be, but it's going to be good.
Look on your desk on the way out. That little red folder says, "Don't let anybody see." But
don't let John see.
But, hey, guys, thank you for taking the time out. I'll let you go to Sundance, and you can continue to hold down the chaos here, Lee. Are you going to Sundance too? No? Okay, with the
Not
pouty
this year.
face.
Maybe next
With the pouty face. The Annapolis Film Festival coming into Annapolis. You should be here March 30th to April 2nd this year. Tickets in probably about a month. AnnapolisFilmFestival.com will give you all of your information. And we are here with the 2 festival directors, Lee Anderson and Patti White, at FILMSTERS in West Annapolis. And that's going to kind of wrap it up for us for this week, I think.
Absolutely.
Are we done?
Looking forward to it.
Where are we?
We are at MD Krabs Podcast on Twitter. You can find us at Facebook. We have a page, and we have a group. The group's getting a little bit more active. You can send us an email at info@themarylandcrabs.com. We've gotten a bunch of emails lately with some really good suggestions and some mild criticisms of John. You can find John at Annapolis on Twitter, and you can find me at Tim Hamilton 47 on Twitter, and that is where you'll find us. So, ladies, thank you very much for having us here. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. We enjoyed it.
See you at the festival.
Talk movie to me.
This has been the Maryland Krabs Podcast with Tim Hamilton and John Fernay. Sure to follow them at all the regular places: Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and online at themarylandkrabs.com. Take a moment to rate us on iTunes. Now, get the hell out of my kitchen. Seriously, go!
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.